recorder, and we are recording. So we're going to start broadcasting and start bringing the peeps in. And the peeps are coming in. I love it. Let's see. So Ian is here. I love you. Rosemary's here. Can you guys please let us know that you can hear us? It's always so much more comforting when I know that you can hear us. Let's see. Somebody, yay, Larry is here. Larry, welcome not only to this event, but welcome to the group. It's good to have you here. And thanks, Lynn, for inviting all these folks.
Yeah, of course. I love you.
Carissa says they can hear us. Wonderful. Well, thanks everybody for being here. It is beautiful for me to see how time after time you show up. So continue showing up because this is for all of us. This is for everybody. Today we have the pleasure of having two beautiful beings share their gifts of time and talent. One is Reverend Lynn LaBorde, who many of you already have met. And the other one is Natalie Anderson, who is fairly new to Spirit Led, but she is jumping in and sharing, and I am very, very excited about this. So, Lynn, with further ado, please introduce yourself.
Carol, thank you so much. You know I love and adore you and everything that you've created here and everything that you do and everything that you represent. Thank you so much for inviting us to be here today. So hi, everybody. My name is Lynn, and I actually started my journey with the Akashic Records reading this book when I was 11 years old. It's a book by Jess Stern, and it chronicles the life of Edgar Cayce, who was known as the Sleeping Prophet. He's probably one of the best known psychics worldwide. And he used to go into a trance, and then he would bring information through, and he had no consciousness of what he was doing. He would bring information through what he called the Akashic Records. And when I read this book, I leaned in and I was like, oh my God, this feels so familiar to me. So it was why I fell in love with the whole idea of anything to do with past lives or, anything to do with spirits. And, in the early 70s and 80s, the only things that were around were things like Eric von Daken's Chariots of the Gods or the Seth materials that Jane Roberts was writing, or Shirley MacLaine with her books, Out on a Limb and Don't Fall Off the Mountain. So, it was kind of limited. But over the years, I've had this incredible journey of having my psychic and my mediumship and my full body trance channeling abilities opened up. And it was so funny. Literally yesterday was my 2-year anniversary of completing a training with Linda Howe, who wrote this book called How to Read the Akashic Records. It was a 3-month training. There were 48 of us around the world. And we went through this 12-week process of learning how to read the records with a very simple and beautiful prayer. And I got out of there and she said, go ahead and practice with about 20 people. So I went onto Facebook and I said, hey, I just learned to read the records. Who'd like a reading? And 78 people responded. So I was like, okay, this is a sign from Spirit. So I practiced with 50 people, and then I started doing readings professionally. And it has turned into absolutely one of the greatest adventures of my life. And about a year ago, I was guided to start teaching the class. So I teach the class in a much shorter period of time and for a bit of less money. But it's still as potent. You walk out of that training knowing how to read the records. You walk out of that training knowing how to read not only for yourself, but for others. And Natalie, one of the things that I adore about Natalie is when I trained Natalie, what became apparent was that Natalie had a very similar kind of familiarity with the records. And she has taken the records and run with them. And I'm going to ask her to introduce herself and talk about her relationship with the records. Natalie?
Thank you, Lynn. And it's great to see all of you. And I recognize so many names from some of our other groups. Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't been reading the records, the Akashic Records, for very long. We went into this pandemic quarantine period in March, and I went through the training with Lynn, and I came out of the back end an hour and a half later with my life totally upside down in a good way. Maybe sideways is more like it. You know, Lynn, you have a real knack, I think, for passing the baton on to, you know, from teacher to student. And it's just, it's been a rockin' journey. Along the way, well, what happened was we all went into lockdown, and the next thing I know, even though I hadn't publicized that I was going to be reading the records, I had some people start putting out the word, and the next thing I know, I was inundated. So between March and now, I've done a lot of readings, and I'm still doing them. And, you know, what I'll say is this is a journey, not a destination. I'm always I always remark to myself on like, wait a second, that was the wildest reading ever that I just did for someone. I guess the last couple of things I'll say are, number one, that in terms of just swapping readings with each other early on, some of Lynn's students, a couple of us discovered that we were keepers of the records or guardians of the records. And to be honest, I'm still learning what that all means. I do see these kind of pictures that come up in my mind, like on an old-fashioned slide carousel, for those of you who are of a certain age. And so sometimes I'll just get like a bunch of images that go by in my head. The other thing is that I had learned how to read the tarot years ago when I was trying to develop my intuition for the first time. And I hadn't picked up my cards in years, like in any kind of serious way. And pretty soon after I started working with Lynn, I just got super itchy palms. And the next thing I know, I'm pulling out my decks. And I have a lot more of those decks that I've purchased off Etsy and Amazon during this quarantine. Yeah, so when I do, well, I can talk more about what happens to me when I do readings, when we kind of do the practice sessions.
Okay.
When I do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I often do this. I forget to introduce myself. There are some that are new here. My name is Carol Morgan. I am your host. I am the co-creator of this space called Spirit Led the Journey, where we come together in communion and in community to bring out the best in us and to help lead humanity to a better place. That's basically what we do here. So thank you again to both of you, and thanks for showing up, everyone, today. Lynn, I'm going to be more of a passive observer today, which is actually pretty fun. So I am going to turn this over to you, my dear.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
I know that you and I had a chance to teach you how to read the records.
Mm-hmm.
And then you actually had, you know, a lot of, it was easy for you, is what I would say, which it isn't always for everybody. One of the things I can tell you about the records is that the records are a soul level resource. So some people hear the records because their clairaudience is open. Some people see the records, which is actually more rare than you would believe because they're clairvoyant. Some people feel the records, they have clairsentience. Some people just know the information because of their claircognizance. And then you'll come across a being that has all of those. And you're looking at a couple of them in front of you. Mm-hmm. Carol, given that this community knows you really well, would you be willing to share a little bit about what it was like for you when you went into that field and what you saw and experienced?
Yes, absolutely. And I am going to be here completely transparent because I think that I would be of more benefit if I do that. It was no different than when I channeled the first time. I totally freaked myself out. When I channeled the first time, I didn't channel for months after that.
Yeah.
Because to me, it is overwhelming when you have access to so much. Yeah. It's humbling. Mm-hmm. And it is overwhelming. So that is, in a nutshell, what I felt. Well, first of all, Lynn asked me a question about another life of hers. And mind you, when I am working with Zena, it is not me. So it's very, well, it is easier, let's say, to put separation, quote unquote, to what is coming through, because you aren't actively participating. All I'm doing is stepping aside for him to speak. But with the Akashic records, I felt a sense of responsibility.
Mhm.
And that's not unusual for me. I like to take on more than I need to, but I felt a sense of responsibility. And when you asked me, how is it that I died in that lifetime? And when I said what I saw and it was spot on, I freaked myself out.
I have this test that I do when I train people. You'll open the records and you'll read the records for yourself for about 15 minutes. And then when I'm doing one-on-one training, I'll ask them about a particular lifetime where I know how I died. And I asked Carol and she nailed it to a T. Natalie did the same thing. So that's for me how I know they're in my records, because there's no denying, how that death occurred. So and I remember that it freaked you out a little. And then there was a record lifetime where you saw the two of us together too.
Yes, and that was very next level, because we had done some of the fear work
Yeah.
in another session, and we also brought it here to Spirit Led, and it identified part of what was going on there from that incarnation where we ended up being in Atlantis. And I'm trying to help Lynn, I'm trying to guide Lynn to a, I don't want to say better path, but a different path.
I was a little dark that lifetime. Let's say that.
So again, here comes the thread, right? I felt responsible for not being able to get her where I thought that she needed to be. So very interesting. But all in all, I believe that it is very powerful. There is no question about it. So I believe that if you go into something this beautiful, it is important that you understand it. And it is important that you understand how much responsibility comes with power, and that you choose. This is the density of choice and conflict, that you choose to do the right thing with that access always. So that was my experience. I feel that I will get back to it. I'll get back on that horse after it's done bucking. But it was amazing, amazing. As you say, I happen to be clairsentient, clairvoyant, all of the clairs.
They're cognizant. Yes, exactly. You have all of them.
All of them are very present. So when I opened the records, I was there.
Technicolor.
I was there, and it was the feelings, the senses, the sounds, the sights. I was right there. Very, very interesting. Very similar to the body of knowledge that I tap into when I transmit Zena's attunements. Very similar. Not the same though, but very similar. So I'm assuming it's just an aspect of the same body of knowledge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To me, Carol, thank you so much for that. And Natalie definitely has those same gifts and abilities. One of the things I found out early on was that the very first time I ever opened the Akashic Records, there were these beings, and there were 7 of them, and they started jumping up and down, and they were having a celebration, and they started screaming, "Halls of Amenti, Halls of Amenti, Halls of Amenti," and it scared the living crap out of me. So I closed the records really quickly, and I was like, what was that? And I too was scared to go back in. I had to wait a couple days because I didn't know what the Halls of Amenti were. I didn't know what my responsibility, I didn't know why they were so excited. And so I like eked back in, and I found out that the Halls of Amenti were the Hall of Records, the Akashic Records that were in Atlantis, and that I was one of the keepers. I was one of the guardians, and I had this whole conversation with Thoth about it. And, there's so much information, and people are like, "Oh, I want to learn to read. I want to learn to read." And I say, well, hold on a second. Let's take a breath, because I think that psychic surgery tool that I teach, the one to remove the fear, is sometimes necessary. There's a student, and I'm not sure if she's here today, but when we went in, I don't think she's here, given the time zone. She wanted to understand why she was so upset with her pets all the time, and this one pet in particular. And she opened up the records and she found herself in a room, and she was making little tinctures and mixtures of herbs and things like that. And there was a cat that jumped on the table. And we call it now, "What happened to the cat?" And I said, "What happened to the cat?" And she goes, "Oh, the cat's around here somewhere." And I said, "Thank you. What happened to the cat?" And she goes, "Oh, the cat's outside." And I said, "Okay, will you go outside and look?" And before we went out there, she said, "I would never hurt an animal." And I said, "I understand. We're not talking about who you are now. We're talking about what happened. Go outside. What happened to the cat?" She looks outside and she goes, "Oh, the cat's dead." And I said, "Thank you. What happened to the cat?" And she said, "I killed the cat." And the class stopped there for her. It was too much for her to be able to integrate. And it was a huge teaching lesson for me, because there's so much truth and there's so much power. And like you said, Carol, there's so much responsibility that comes with it. About 3 weeks later, she reapproached and she said, "Okay, I'm ready to finish my training." And she did. And it turns out actually that she's coincidentally another guardian of the records. And these are just the guardians or the keepers are beings that, were responsible for the integrity of the records. And so, you know, be careful what you ask for is one of the things that I say about this. It's a soul level resource. There's a lot of information, a lot of power. And, I couldn't have said it better than what you said, Carol, that, there's a lot of responsibility that goes with it. So, if you feel like you're ready for that, if you feel like you're ready to dip your toe in the pool, even if you have to retract, and take a break from it, it's something that's available for everybody. Everyone is absolutely granted access to their own records. And there are some rules and guidelines about, reading for other people. Natalie, is there anything you want to add to that and what you've seen because I know you've done, suddenly she goes, "Oh my God, I've got 4 people. Oh my God, I've got 9 people. Oh my God, there's 11 people." and I think you got outed by a relative who told people
Yeah.
to do readings, and suddenly all these people were signing up and paying her for readings.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because I don't know if any of you on this call can relate, but I don't think of myself as particularly talented or gifted in any of these modalities. And I've been working my way through A Course in Miracles for a handful of years now, but it still feels like a slog a lot of times, in terms of how my life relates to the course and vice versa. And I just think about that line in there: purification is necessary first. And I feel like for a lot of us, we are spiritually growing and advancing and might not be aware of it. And for me, what happened is just, I feel like I've been catapulted into another dimension at the same time that I'm still living in this one. And I'll just give you a very specific example. You're talking about channeling. Well, I couldn't channel in March. I had never channeled. I actually was due to go visit Lynn in person and take a channeling class from a friend of hers in mid-March, and we ended up having to cancel that, postpone it, and I did the Akashic Records training online instead. But I was curious about it. But there's a part of me that's like, you can't channel. Well, guess what? While I'm reading the records, after the first few times, I channel the records. And just saying that out loud, I mean, I guess I don't say that a lot, but it just seems kind of crazy. So, I still feel like there's this dichotomy for me. And, I can see that there's a question in the Q&A about I can't see anything. I got trained and I can't see anything.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure Carol and Lynn, you'll have your own responses to that. But my response is, don't let that stop you. Like, just keep going. Maybe you need to practice. Maybe you need to swap with someone else who's learning to read. Maybe you need to read a book. Maybe you need to read your own records. I don't know what it is, but this stuff works.
That's so beautifully said. And I actually want to answer Anne Marie's question. I know Anne Marie. I love Anne Marie. And Anne Marie is an incredible channel. One of the things that I teach people when I do this is, don't read the records while driving. Meanwhile, she's sitting there driving down the freeway of life channeling. So I'm like, how did she do that? What I would say, Anne-Marie, is that, so here's the difference. You must be connected to your heart to be able to read the records, to be able to feel the records, to be able to hear the records, to be able to see the records. If you're in your head and you're thinking about it, and granted the images may come in through your third eye, but if you're too much in your head, it's going to block, I find, block the flow of the information. I was working with a client this morning, and when she would pop back into present life, she would lose it. Here's what I tell people: take a breath, pop your head off, and literally tuck it inside of your heart. And from there, it'll give you that immediate connection. So there also may be some things. This is what I use, that fear technique that I call psychic surgery. I used to call it the psychic energy healing technique. It was a mouthful. So Carol, I want to thank you, because now I just call it psychic surgery. And it's really a way of, we've had these incarnations. And again, it's not like life is linear. So it isn't that there's past life, but people call it the past, the present, the future. It's all happening simultaneously. So up here on my ceiling, there's a mirror ball. And I thought, when I ordered it online, I thought it was like going to be something I could put on my keychain, and it's like this big. But to me, we live in this multiverse where we are the soul. I know. I've always had proportion issues, so there you go. One time I ordered this table that I thought was like a desk for my room, and it was like a little miniature table. It was like, what was I thinking?
That's cute.
So to me, we live inside of this sphere. Like, imagine that we're the light or the oversoul that's inside of the sphere, and every mirror is an aspect of a simultaneous projection of lifetimes that we're living. Where you may have a soul that you actually know that is another aspect of your soul. Carol, I know you're familiar with that. Where you have lifetimes that are happening in the present, in the past, in the future. I mean, imagine if you're in a box and there's 6 sides. There's north, south, east, west, above, and below. And there's a pinhole in all of them. And there's a light that shines. So there's 6 simultaneous movies. But just imagine if that's 1,000 or 100,000 or more that are occurring. Whenever you have a shift or a healing in one of them, it's like dropping the stone in the water. It reverberates to all of them. So you may find that you thought you had an issue with something, and you don't have that issue any longer, because in another simultaneous existence, you've actually resolved what that is. And the Akashic Records offer you that. You walk into a world where, I don't know how many of you are watch any of the science fiction movies, but in one of the films, there was a Dr. X, and he had an academy, and he would go in and he put this little skull cap on, and he was in this room, and it was domed, and he could like hear everybody at the same time. And it's kind of like that. It's like you have access to all of your existences at once, and you can ask for patterns that are in this lifetime. Like, why, when I asked, why was I afraid of my father? It was phenomenal what came out of it. I had a student who had this incredible ability to go in, and she said, 497 years ago, you two lived in Lithuania, and you were his daughter, and he had sold you into prostitution, and you tried to escape, and he had you stoned to death. And I was like, well, that would certainly do it, And then there was all the forgiveness that came from that, and now I'm my father's caretaker. But for 11 years, I couldn't be around him. So it's being able to apply those lifetime lessons to what's occurring to you now that's really going to make the biggest difference in your life and how you live now, because really that's all that matters. All that there really is now. Emery, I hope that answers your question, my love. It looks like there's another question in there.
There is.
Oh, yes. So Jamie, that's a great question. Jamie, you do indeed need permission from another. So when I do the training, what I tell people is, you can read the records of anything that you have 50% more or ownership of, like a cat or a house or a car or a piece of land. But if you can't go in and go, who really killed JFK? How did Marilyn Monroe die? Where's Jimmy Hoffa buried? You must have permission from these beings, from anybody in your life. I can ask, about my relationship with my dad, but I can't ask about my dad. I had 2 students one time, and one said, why did my mother abandon her children? And the answer wasn't forthcoming. And I said, why don't you ask it this way? Why did I choose to have my mother abandon me? Because it's a place of self-responsibility. And from there, the records poured forth information. But if you're trying to read someone else's records, you want to know about somebody else, they will either end the transmission or they just will not give you the answer. Nat, have you experienced that too?
Yeah, it really has to do with, I think, the nexus of where the permission
Mhm.
and the future, which they don't, the
Mhm.
lords of the records don't really like to show you your future,
Right.
um, overlap with the importance of asking the right kinds of questions.
Yeah.
And Lynn, you've really taught me this. And I've also done some more searching online to kind of come up with some other question ideas. But yeah, just that kind of reframing that you're talking about can be so helpful. What happens to me if someone asks me a question that the Lord's don't want to or choose not to
Mhm.
directly address, sometimes I'll just get a gray out.
Mhm.
And sometimes I'll get an emphatic, like, no.
Yep.
Just like
Totally.
sometimes, and each of you, if you decide to learn this, and
Mhm.
it's really cool, and I recommend it highly, but if you do, you'll develop your own sets of cues together with the Lords of the Records. For me, I sometimes get them behind me pushing me, like, go in this direction, say this. And I'm rolling my eyes to myself, like, I don't want, and I will sometimes say that to clients. I'm going to tell you something, and I, Natalie, do not want to say this, but they would like me to say it.
Exactly. Like it's sometimes you don't want to give bad news to good people kind of thing. I,
Yeah, and it's, it's easy for us as human beings to say, "Ew, this is gnarly and bad."
yeah.
I'll never forget the very first reading I ever did for a paying client. I was petrified.
Mm.
And I had my tarot cards because by then they'd already emerged. And this client asked me a question about someone in their immediate family. And I pulled, I'll just say, the Three of Swords. It's the tarot card with a heart and three swords piercing it.
Yeah.
One of its meanings can be heartbreak. And I'm looking at this card, it's not on the screen, and I'm like, I don't want to say anything. And then I finally fessed up. I said, I don't want to say anything, but this is the card. And this being has heartbreak and heartache. And the client burst out in tears on the camera. And I was like, well, when you're in the records, you're in the records. Like, they are going to give you, the lords are going to give you the information that answers the question if it is for the highest good of the other person.
Yep. And
And
part of the prayer of invocation, that's exactly what we
yeah,
ask for.
but I mean, that was me seeing it and experiencing it.
Yeah.
And it was for me as well as for them.
Absolutely. And when we're in the records, there's a prayer that I give credit to my teacher Linda Howe, that Linda created, and it's a prayer that allows you to, you know, say exactly what it is that you're going to do. It's a prayer of invocation. It's a prayer of asking that you're in the records and not in your ego. So basically, you're in your heart rather than in your head. And one of the things, Natalie and I had a very funny conversation. So she did her training and she goes, Lynn, the most amazing thing's been happening. I just read about this. The records come in and they come in through my head and then they go through my eyes and they come in through my throat and then they go from my heart and then they go out to the person that, I'm reading. And I said, yeah, it's like that. And I said, Natalie, please turn to the notes that I sent you that's reading yourself and doing readings for another. And it was literally right then. She goes, oh, I forgot about that. So here's what happens for me. I'm a full body trance channel. When Hathor comes in, she comes in from my root chakra up into me. When Magdalene comes in, she comes in from my right. When Mother Mary comes in, she comes in from my left. When Archangel Michael comes in, he comes in from behind me. And when the records come in, they come in from above. And they come in through my crown. I open my crown. They come into my third eyes. They come in through my throat, and then they settle in my heart. If I'm reading for myself, it stays in my heart. If I'm reading for another, it literally goes out and connects with the heart of the other person. And there will be a point where you will feel that. You will actually literally feel that. Because I'm trained as a channel, because my soul's origin is as an oracle, I channel the records. I too channel the records. But when I channel the records, it's one of your masters, teachers, or loved ones, or one of the lords of the records that's coming through. It's not me. It doesn't sound like me. And when they're done, they're done. Like they're like, this transmission is complete, and it's like, boom, you're out. There's a beautiful closing prayer that goes with it. And it's just, to me, it's a holy experience, I know in this community, I can say that you can understand it. It's an experience that's filled with grace, and it's an experience that's filled with respect. And I would never do anything to jeopardize. I have such respect for the police. I think that's one of the reasons that I've had such an affection for Scotty when I heard that he was a police officer, because we grew up, my mom was a single woman with 3 kids, and the woman who lived next door was a single mom with 3 kids. And she was a police officer. She was the first detective in New York. First female detective in New York. And so I just grew up loving the police. This was Aunt Vicky to me. And the records have very strict policies about what the do's and the don'ts are. And I don't like, I've been to court once in my life for turning left on a light where I shouldn't have. And, I showed up in a suit and pearls, and the judge was very, very kind to me and very generous and lenient. And, other than that, I think I got 1 speeding ticket when I was about 18 and never again. Like, I'm a rule follower, and I follow the rules of the records. And it's important because they will give you so much if you honor them. It's a very honoring process, So as much as you bring the best of you to them, they will give you the best of them back.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Yeah. I'm going to ask you, there's a couple more questions.
Sure. Okay, let's see. Can you cause yourself or others harm or problems if you try to access the records without proper training? Can anything go wrong? Larry, that's a great question. So there are some guidelines saying things like, don't read the records for people that are under 18. Don't fall asleep with your records open. And this is how I put it. If a mother came to me and she said, my child is 12 and he's having nightmares, would you read his records? And you go in and you see something, but the child is not able to heal it or deal with it, or the parents won't grant you permission for that, but it's activated something. And then the mother says, oh my God, my child's nightmares are worse, and now he's having psychotic episodes. What did you do to my child? I don't ever want to be in that position. If I'm going in to work with someone, it's with the agreement that I'm going to be able to use the techniques that I know and that I've been trained in and done thousands and thousands of hours of work with to pull someone out of any situation. One of the things that I've been blessed with is whatever someone brings to me, I know that I can help them heal. And so I think that if you follow the guidelines and you're very, very clear with them, you can't hurt someone. If you go in there with malintent, you shouldn't go in there. I also say, when you go to sleep at night, you lock your windows and your doors, and you don't leave your jewelry and your money out. When you go to sleep at night, close the records. As we leave our bodies at night and go up to the higher dimensions to review what we've done in a day and talk about what our wins were and what our losses were and what we're being judged for and what we need to repeat or things like that. As we come through some of the darker dimensions, as we make our ascension, I don't want anyone to go, oh, look, her records are open. Let's mess with things. So I believe that the answer to your question is yes, Larry, and I'm not going to give any being an opportunity to mess with my records, much less anybody else. So I train you and I'm like, whatever you open, you must close. Whatever you open, you must close. And by the way, whatever you open, you must close. Don't fall asleep with the records open. Don't open the records before you're, going to go to sleep. Don't open the records when you're somewhere where you could, just don't do that. And make sure you do the closing prayer. In the closing prayer, you do the opening of the records in reverse. So you actually close your heart, close your throat, close your third eye, close your crown. So you've closed it back up in the order in which you've opened it. If that doesn't answer your question, Larry, ask more. Let's see. Hi, Manjeet. Is there a good idea to develop your confidence with tarot cards and divinations? Nat, I think that's for you, as I'm not very confident with the records and feel blocked when I try or lack confidence or something. Nat, do you want to talk about how the tarot was for you?
Yeah, so I suspect that many of us on this call have other modalities or approaches that we might be familiar with. And some of us won't, because this will be early on in our journey, and that's fine too. But if you have something that really resonates with you, And I'm just going to hold this up, right? Because I have a master crystal and I'm holding it right now. Once again, I don't spend a lot of time with my crystals, touching them, although I'm surrounded by them. But, you know, they had been kind of off to the side when I first started reading the records, and I was very uncertain about what the heck I was doing and how it was all going to unfold because it was all new. Even though I hadn't planned to start picking up my crystal again, even though I hadn't planned to pull out my tarot decks, starting with the classic Rider-Waite, I'd say very quickly, within 2 or 3 reading swaps with other students, I got what I call itchy palms. And you know, this is guidance to me with a capital G, right? Like, it's the hands pushing me, like, go get your cards. And I was thinking, what? Where did I, oh, they're all on a shelf somewhere. And I pulled them out. And that is a very long-winded way of saying, yes, you are probably being guided or given that little shove to go pick up whatever resonates for you. It may be a specific crystal or set of crystals. It may be an oracle deck or a set of cards, a specific set of cards. Before I do a reading now, I don't have it. I think I'm going to be doing a reading on here. I have no idea who I'm reading for. I am already picking up that person's energy, and I don't even know who they are or what question they're going to ask me. But if you had told me that I'd be doing this, or when I was new at it, I would have told you were out of your mind. So I'd say whatever your special talents are, whatever you've been drawn to thus far in your journey, absolutely make use of it. I can't think of any other examples. Maybe you, Carol, and you, Lynn, can. But, you know, for me, it's definitely whoever I'm going to read for, one of your messages is be playful, right? Like Sandpiper Spirit. I don't know why I pulled that card. I've never pulled this card out of this deck before. But you know, like these are the nudges I get. So why not use the tools at hand? Why say, no, I'm reading the records. I'm not going to use all this other stuff that I love or I enjoy or I'm good at or I know I have a relationship with. Let it rip.
That's beautiful. I was reading, I think it was the Yeshua letters, or no, the one by Pamela Cribby. And basically Jesus was saying that we're on a tractor beam back to God. And there are many roads that are going to get us there. And some of you are going to do it through the crystals. And some of you are going to do it through past life. And some of you are going to do it through meditation. And some of you are going to do it through reading the records. And some of you are going to do it by being psychic. And some of you are going to do it by being a medium. Some of you are going to do it by being a channel. Because what we're doing is we're experiencing everything. And then we come back and we go, here's what I learned today, you know, in the classrooms on planet Earth. And they're like, okay, great. Now, you know, drink your forgetfulness juice and go back down and we'll see you tomorrow night, you know, because we do these life reviews every single day of like, what did we learn? And then if we don't get something quite right, or we go, oh, I want to redo that one, you know, that circumstance will present itself again. And we go, why do I keep having these things that happen over and over? Because it's juicy and you haven't gotten everything out of it yet. We're not doing anything wrong. We're doing everything right. We're born of original innocence, not of original sin. And we're all on this journey together, you know? And it's fascinating. And the Akashic Records they're just another resource. And, you know, for some of you, the records are easier than others. And for some of you, you've had incarnations where you read the records and you spoke the truth and they cut your throat. They put a spike through your third eye. They gouged your eyes out. They ripped your ears off. They decapitated you. They decimated you. We have been killed and destroyed so many different ways. And by the way,
True.
By each other, you know, so it's like my father did that to me that lifetime, I did that to him this life, you know, like it's like we're all in this together. No one, I had a very, very dark lifetime. I've had 5 people say to me, you were a dark queen in Atlantis and you were part of, you know, the destruction of it. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, moi? And now I'm like, yeah, I've heard that before. What else have you got for me? And I keep working on it and I keep healing from it. I you know, I'm doing my work about it. So when Carol came up with it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember now, you know? So it's just, we have to be able to own and love our darkness as much as our light. We have the base, strongest structure in the universe is the triangle. It is the foundation of sacred geometry. There is a positive field, there is a negative field, and then there's a neutral field. All of these experiences are about us being able to accept the positive, accept the negative, and bring neutrality to it. And that's what we're doing. And the records are just another amazing resource to go, wow, look at how dark I was. Look at how light I was. Here I was an angel. Here I was not. And being able to say, I can be neutral about all of that instead of judging it, instead of, accusing people, instead of being ashamed or guilty or afraid of it. Just being able to say, I've been all that and I've done all that. And I'm here and it's all about love. To me, okay, now I'm going to step off my soapbox. So. Why don't we go into some practice? All right, let's see if there's any other, oh wait, there was one more question about, I have a question. Being a QHHT practitioner, I've seen clients access the same type of information in a QHHT session. I agree. They can experience the actual life and the information comes directly from their higher self. Yes, the information comes through the client. What is the pros of Akashic readings over a personal experience where they can have a past life regression session where they can actually access the information by themselves as opposed to being told indirectly by a reader? I know that there are many different modalities and people are drawn to different modalities. Just wanted to ask and get your points of view. So Alexandra, what I would say is, I say that you can either give a man a fish or you can teach a man to fish. And as much as I enjoy doing readings for people and giving them their fish, one of the things that I love to do more than anything else is to teach people how to read the records for themselves. I think that it is one of the greatest tools that you can have. I've been in a QHHT hypnosis session myself. I saw lifetimes that I hadn't seen. The lifetime that I saw wasn't necessarily a healing lifetime. It was a lifetime of like, why am I so good at baking pastries and apple pies and apple turnip? Like, when I was this very famous baker in Europe in the 1500s. And I was like, oh, that was cool. There wasn't any particular trauma in that lifetime. With the records, you get to go in and you're more self-directed with it. You get to go in and say, I want to know about this. I want to know why I have this pattern. I want to know why I have this relationship. I want to know why I have these feelings with this person. My client this morning said, I don't understand why my husband's father hates me so much. And she went back to a lifetime where they were in the military together and someone had died. And then there was another lifetime where she was a slave and he was in love with her. He owned the plantation and she didn't return his feelings and he had her hung. She saw an image of herself as a Black woman being hung in a tree. And on top of that, I went in and we did the healing so that the trauma wasn't still there for her with it. I don't know enough about QHHT. I'm not trained as a practitioner in that. But for me, it's not just about seeing the information that's there, it's about healing the information. So besides teaching people how to read the records, I always want to teach them the technique, which is the psychic surgery, so that they can remove the trauma that's still connected to them physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. I hope that answered your question. Do you guys have anything else you want to bring in?
No, actually, I have a question from Laurent, and he is reminding me.
Okay.
So
Hi, Lauren.
I'm going to read his question. He says, hi, Carol and team. I had one question for the session today. He says, I got an answer on that question, which was kind of strange. Oh, I'm sorry. He says, I am trying to put a name on my higher self, which is a very 3D thing to do, I know, but it is just to address him or her properly. I got an answer on that question, which was kind of strange, like your Kangel or Ural Kangel. It was not very clear in my mind. Not now, if it is not appropriate to get this name, I understand and don't want to insist. It is just that I am trying to speak to it in the proper way or manner.
Okay. So what I would recommend with that, Lauren, I have been trained to not give someone their spirit guides' names. I was told it's like slitting the cocoon. Caterpillar goes into the chrysalis. If you try to slit that cocoon to help the butterfly emerge, it has to struggle, it has to go to. I heard once the children that are born through the birth canal have a different experience of life than those who come through C-section. There's a struggle that you have to go through. It's much like the pressure that is applied to a lump of coal that creates the diamond. So I do know that through the records and through meditations, people have been able to come up with the names of their higher selves. I've always been called Sahana. And then when I started channeling Hathor, I was called Sahana Grace. And then when I started to do work with my higher self, actually stepping inside of her, she revealed herself to me and told me that her name was Sahaniel, and that she was an angelic being from the future who would come back to help me on my journey. So rather than slitting the cocoon for you, I would definitely want to give you the tool of being able to discover that for yourself, because it's just of much more significance. Again, this is my belief about it. You may find people who will tell you, I'm not that person. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You guys want to chime in on that?
I certainly can. And I think that that is a perfect answer. The way that Xena, the blue avian being that I speak for, addresses beings is in helping them and supporting them in their journey, not traveling for them, if you
Yes.
know what I mean.
Yeah.
So basically, it's okay, we'll give you the tools for you to go fish, just as you said. But if you don't learn to fish yourself, you're just going to have to repeat it all over again.
Exactly.
It's going to continue happening. So it's part of that intrinsic trust that you must have in your own guidance. You must just go into your core, yourself, and trust that what you are accessing is perfect for you. That's
Yeah.
basically it.
And if you have places where you don't trust yourself, I have this very simple little tool that will help you remove the fear. It's a fear removing technique. It's the one I call the psychic surgery. I know that there's a recording of that training here that we did with Carol a couple months ago. So Millie asked a question: can you explore all issues with a reading? Absolutely. There's nothing that's verboten that I've come across, unless you're trying to read information for someone without their permission. I wanted to know why I felt so drawn to the asteroid belt, and found out that I was on the planet when it exploded, and a whole bunch of beings went to Jupiter, and a whole bunch of beings went to Mars, and a whole bunch of beings went to Venus. And, I just always knew that the asteroid belt had been a planet, and I was there. So let's see, I'm open to have a reading if you're doing any. Okay, so Anne-Marie can be one of them. And then Anna said, can someone open the records not being conscious about it? Anna, I would definitely say absolutely. In fact, several years ago, someone said to me, just because you can read the records doesn't mean you should. And I was like, what are you talking about? I can read the records. Can I read the records? So that's why a girlfriend of mine posted a couple of years back, about 3 years ago, and she said, maybe even 4 years ago, hey, I just got trained to read the Akashic Records. Does anyone want a practice? And I was like, oh my God, pick me, pick me. And she read my records, and I was like, wow. Then I saw that her teacher was advertising Linda Howe. It wasn't, actually, she didn't learn from Linda. She learned from a couple people that had learned from Linda, couple generations down. But when I saw that Linda was doing the training, I just was like, I'm all in. So yes, you can absolutely access the records. And if you find that you do access the records, it means that you have a relationship with them. So many times I've taught people how to access the records, and they're like, oh, I know this place. I know these beings. And Daniela would like to have a reading. Okay, so Nat, I'm going to have you read Anne-Marie, because I know Anne-Marie, and then Daniela, I'll read you. Victoria, can the records be read for events, or is it just personal exploration? No, you can absolutely read for events. Like finding out, but again, like if you want to find out about a war, or you want to find out where something happened, if you're drawn to it, it's some aspect of you. I have absolutely no interest in things that people are like, oh my God, I'm completely interested in that. And then the things that I'm interested in is because I have some kind of soul connection to them. Hi, Lynn and Natalie. I would love a reading too. Hey, Larry. I think we're going to have time for 2, but and we're going to. Those were the first 2 to volunteer, so we'll have to set something up another time. All right. Okay. So I think we'll get started with some practice readings, so you guys can see what this is like. Natalie, I'm going to ask you to start with Anne-Marie. Can we unmute Anne-Marie?
Yes, hang on. Let me, Anne-Marie, can you please do me a favor and raise your hand? That way I can go ahead and bring you in.
Yay.
Hi, love.
Hi, everyone. Thank
How are
you.
you? How are you?
Oh, enjoying the energies, dear one.
Ah, beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Anne-Marie, you have a nice long name. Is this your legal name, or can you give me, I need your legal name like it would be on your driver's license in order to open the records.
Anne-Marie Morales -Ear, E-A-R.
Yep, wonderful. All right. Here's how it's going to go. I'm going to recite a prayer, some of it aloud and some of it to myself. And at the end, I'll make an announcement that the records are open. And you can ask me your question. And yeah, and you'll see.
Yeah.
All right. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God, help me to know Anne-Marie in the light of the Akashic Records, to see Anne-Marie through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Anne-Marie have for her. The records are now open.
Okay, Anne-Marie, you can go ahead and ask her a question.
Is there a particular reason why I always feel inadequate?
Just to be clear, I, Natalie, am still here, but like the Lords are coming in now to answer your question, and so I will answer it from their point of view. I have a tickly feeling in my stomach about this for some reason. I think it's because I'm used to reading one-on-one, and there's a lot going on. So my stomach has got like happy butterflies in it. So that's awesome. It's a new feeling for me. What we would say to you, dear one, is that this feeling of inadequacy, we will answer it in a couple of different ways. One more esoteric, one more concrete. Because we know that you are open to the first, more esoteric response, and you are curious for a more concrete response as well. So we do not want to make you uncomfortable by telling you that we can read your mind. However we can, of course. And that really gets to the esoteric response to your question, which is that any and all feelings in regards to inadequacy, not being complete, not feeling utterly fulfilled in this now moment, stem from the illusion of separation. And we know that many, many, many of you, perhaps all of you, are students of A Course in Miracles, or, or if you're not, you are being tugged in that direction quite resoundingly right now. So our intent in giving you this response is to say that you are not separate, that when you feel inadequate or incomplete or not utterly whole, what you are experiencing is the illusion of separation. And it is a matter of shifting your point of view, your orientation towards, Natalie wants to show you a card because she pulled it before the reading and she was like, I don't know. And it's from a tarot deck that she loves called the Crow Tarot, and it's the Star. And you, Anne-Marie, and this is an unusual reading for Natalie because there's so many subjects on the device. She would like to say this to all of you. You have inner guidance. You sometimes push it outside of yourselves and say, these are my external guides. These are the external beings who are guiding me. But for all of you, and some of you are highly aware that this is coming up, arising from the inside of you, from your essence. You can simply make a choice. I know that I have chosen somewhere in my being to believe in this separation, and I am feeling it as inadequacy right now. And let me simply reorient my point of view, my inner guidance, towards that bright star inside of me, towards the light, towards the sunlight. And the reason why the card is the star and not the sun card is that the star is a light in the darkness. And when you feel that you have an inner darkness, or perhaps it's manifesting on the outside of you, and you are wondering, what is this? And how do I get rid of it? And I don't want it inside of me. You have a couple of options. Always you have more than two, but we will just say, for the sake of simplicity, you have a couple of options. Number one is you can ask. You can just say out loud or to yourself, please help me. I'm asking for guidance from you. And then picture on the inside of you, in your heart, in your high heart, this beautiful blazing light. It's always there. And another option is simply to say to yourself, yes, I've chosen this inadequacy and I choose again. This is language from the Course that many of you will be familiar with. I choose again. Because whenever we have unpleasant feelings, they are arising from a choice we've made, often unwittingly, an unloving choice, and often that unloving choice is self-directed. Of course, we're all one, so there's no such thing as other-directed, but you know what we're saying. On a concrete level, there is something they would like to say. That it is as if we want Natalie to say something that she doesn't want to say, as usual. What we would like to say to you is that you have been experiencing some kind of death. It is, we want to say it is the death of a dream of some sort. And there is some part of you that is struggling against that, not wanting that to be so, not wanting it to be the truth. And this struggle, this constant struggle and chafing against, can sometimes lead to feelings of, we will say, emotional chaos. And we want Natalie to say this to you. We also want her to ask you, do you have any more detail around the question that you would like to ask her? In other words, are you seeking for specific guidance? Are you seeking for more insight?
I'm wanting to know why I feel like I'm not. I,
It gets really personal. It's okay.
it
Let's
does. It
take a
does.
breath. I know. I know.
Um,
And thank you for volunteering.
are they talking about my marriage relationship that I'm still holding on? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And baby, I feel the emotions coming up. So just allow yourself to breathe. You guys, when you volunteer, just know that it's going to get really personal and really deep.
Yes, and what we would like to say as the Lords of the Records is that Anne Marie, there is a heart connection between you and Natalie. Natalie can feel it right now, and she's not sure if you can feel it, but it's unmistakable on the Natalie side. And also, if this were a private reading, Natalie would share some very private things about her own life and her own marriage, which is also, she's also holding on to. And when you cry, she will cry. So she's crying now. And this is another thing that we, the Lords of the Records, would like to tell you on the call, as well as you, Anne Marie. This is a two-way street. And Natalie neglected to mention that in any kind of deep and meaningful manner up front, but you are seeing it and feeling it, all of you right now. And this, I don't know if this happens in a QAHT session. I assume it does, but perhaps it does not. Now I'm talking like both Natalie and the Lords, but I'll just say as Natalie, all I can tell you is, Anne Marie, you should give me a call afterwards or send me an email, and just on the, gratis will complete the reading.
Okay.
Because it does get personal, and I will share as personally with you. There are no accidents, as Jesus says in A Course in Miracles. There's a reason you and I were brought together today, and we will come again together very soon.
Natalie, before you close the records, because I'm in the records with you guys, Anne Marie, I just want to say to you that there are some patterns and some dynamics that were set up between you and your mom, and things that were said to you, and beliefs that you have about yourself that you didn't question, that you just took on faith. There are multiples of lifetimes of jealousies that go on between the two of you. So were you to start to heal those dynamics?
Thank you.
You might as well be reading for me, Lynn. So there's something much bigger going on. I'm just going to say before I shut the records, like, I am getting massive hits. And what I want to say is there are 4 of us on the screen that I can see: Carol, Lynn, Anne Marie's photo, and me. And what I'm going to tell the 4 of us that I'm seeing right now, and the rest of you on the phone, is that there's something going on between the 4 of us. And I have no idea what it is. If we had all the time in the world, we could dig into it. But that's news to me. Like, that is new for me. Perhaps not for you, Lynn, but I'm just going to end before I close the records by saying a card that I pulled from my Archangel Michael deck before I started the reading says, God is in charge. Dear God, please help me let go of this situation, giving it in faith and trust to your divine wisdom and infinite love in order to resolve and heal everything and everyone involved. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I want to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for
I'm going
their
to close the records now.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm going to close the records now before my heart explodes. I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and the loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen.
Thank you, Nat. Breathe.
Whoa.
Yeah, breathe. So that's an example of how deep, how personal, and how profound these readings are. The sky just opened up pouring rain, like crazy pouring rain. Wow. Okay, so here in New York, we're releasing. Gorgeous, beautiful. Emery, thank you, my love. You guys can find each other, you know, at Carol's place. You guys can find each other at Tina's place. And yeah, Natalie's amazing. Natalie, thank you for that. That was gorgeous.
Thank you both, Natalie and Anne-Marie, for what you just created.
Stunning, stunning, stunning. All right, we have a few. All right, everyone's sending their love, sending their love, sending their love, sending their love. Okay, gorgeous. All right.
Please
So
remind me who is next so I can have
Daniela,
your hand.
Daniela
Okay.
Viola.
Daniela, can you please be so kind to raise your hand, love, so I can bring you in? There she is. Hello, beautiful.
Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this. Always such beautiful energy. I just bask in it. Thank you.
You're so welcome. My love, can you pronounce your full legal name for me?
It is Daniela Alina Viola.
Okay, beautiful. With your permission, I'm going to go ahead and open your Akashic Records.
Yes, please, and thank you.
And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of light, help me to know Daniela in the light of the Akashic Records, to see Daniela through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Daniela have for her. The records are now open. Greetings, beloved. How may we be of assistance?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm looking to understand more fully my starseed story and which gifts I am to utilize in this time of our ascension to be of the greatest service to humanity and our beloved Gaia.
Indeed. You are in service through your light, your constant vigil to bring the aspects of darkness within you to balance, your constant self-introspection, your constant appreciation and gratitude for your very existence has made you a beacon of light for many. Your soul's origin is indeed with that of the Creator. And you also have a significant portion of your existence that resonates with the light of Sirius. You have been one of the aspects of councils of light, one of the aspects of creator beingness that has indeed molded and shaped what has been sentient life here in this dimension, on this planet, You are here as one of the light workers and one of the gatekeepers to assist with what is occurring. As you continue to interact with others, as you continue to see them through the eyes of love, as you continue to grant yourself and others forgiveness, you are creating a light spectrum. You are creating a field of reality that those with whom you are in connection, those with whom you relate, those who come to you for healing, those who come to you to be reminded of themselves, you are doing this through your own self-remembrance. The more that you allow yourself to say, yes, I know. Yes, I remember. Yes, you are beloved to me. Yes, I see the light within, for it is recognized by the light within me. When you live the prayer of Namaste, you have indeed had many incarnations in the lands of India. You have indeed had many incarnations being in the religion that is known as Buddhism and Taoism. You have lent yourself to the voices that have hearkened from many other star systems and many other dimensions. What you are here to do, beloved, is to not only remember, but to awaken others in their memories of themselves. You are indeed adept in accessing the Hall of Records yourself. You have been granted access, and you carry a light of truth and honor and dignity within you that you then shine upon others. When they come to you with their issues, when they come to you with their concerns, when they come to you with their dramas, you extending your heart to them is the greatest service that you can offer. For it is much like when a candle lights another. The ignition does not cost the light within. It creates a field that illuminates many. Forgiveness is ultimately not even necessary, in that all of this has been by design, beloved. You yourself have been one of the architects. You have a mere consciousness of the grandeur of your light. In your meditation practices, which we are delighted to see are profound for you, we invite you to bring forth more and more of the memories of your own divinity. Ask for more of your light quotient to be revealed. Ask for the amplification of your light to be increased, beloved, for this will illuminate your path, and there will be no question. You truly have no question, for you are on your path and your journey. You are now merely gathering many with you. You are a delight to all with whom you are in contact. One moment, please. Automatic writing, you taking a pen to paper, allowing yourself to go deeply within and letting the words flow, would bring forth a volume that you would publish that would be of service to many. There is guidance and assistance available to you and for you in this project. You are welcome, beloved, to call out and ask for assistance. we encourage you to do this as left to the variety of thoughts within one's mind. There are several conversations occurring at once. When you speak your prayers aloud, when you request assistance aloud, you are marked and your prayers are indeed answered. There is nothing that you would ask for, dear one, that would not be granted unto you. Know that you have our blessings and our support and our guidance and our love with you in all that you do. Greetings and salutations, beloved. This transmission is complete. I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen.
That was just beyond simply words cannot express. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
I got a
you.
little overwhelmed by that. Woo! You brought in some heavy hitters, baby.
Thank you.
I have goosebumps through my whole body.
When the message about the automatic writing came through, my energy expanded exponentially, and the vibration got to such a point that I started crying. So I thank you so much.
You know, I'm over here crying myself. I'm not usually a crier, but that's gorgeous. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for volunteering.
Yes. Thank you.
Ooh, you're welcome. All right, so we got about 15 minutes left. Carol, I know that we want to bring Zena through. I just want to thank all of you so much for coming and being with us today. Tomorrow, I'm teaching a class on how to read the records. I'll post, on Carol's page what that link is if you're interested. I teach how to read the records about once a month. I recommend that people learn more than just how to read the records, but pretty much everyone here is an advanced practitioner. Let me just see if there's any other questions that came up. This is me speed reading. I have to leave. My neighbor just told me the car window's open. It's raining. Okay, Renati. Natalie, call you after it's over. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Okay, beautiful.
I have a question from Victoria. She says, business question. How do you put a price to spiritual work?
To me, the price for spiritual work is based on my own self-worth. I found myself spending a lot of time with people saying that a session would be an hour and sometimes it would be 2. And it was taking away from, time that I could be doing more work with other people. And, I had to cut myself back from 6 sessions a day to 3 sessions a day. And I just raised my prices because for what it is that I do and everything that I bring and all the training that I have, it just became a place of where I had to value myself. And what's been really fascinating is as I raise my prices, there are people that are paying them. So, you just have to really check with your own guidance about that. I also hired a life coach and I have a female entrepreneur business coach. And she was like, you need to raise your prices. So it just really is what you feel that you deserve,
It is so synchronistic that you are saying this because I just posted yesterday that I'm going to be raising my rates for my private sessions, and I'm still on the low side of things because
very low. I meant to talk to you about that, but we'll talk privately.
no, I'm totally aware, and I am completely clear of how low it is. I still want to keep it affordable because not everybody can pay a higher price, and I am here for this service. But just as you're saying, as I was verbalizing this to my husband yesterday, my sessions say up to 45 minutes. Which one I hold to 45 minutes, I don't know, because
Exactly.
they're much longer.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it is time that I am taking away from my family.
Right.
And I feel that it is so important, Victoria, that there is an exchange for Thrive.
Yeah.
There's got to be an exchange for Thrive. So I will continue to keep it on the lower side to make it affordable as long as I can. Once time gets more precious, then I will act accordingly. But like I said in my post, I reinvest that money to make this and this platform and these events free of charge for everyone. So there you go, love. It's very synchronistic that you asked that.
I just posted the link for tomorrow's class, and it's also my website. And listen, I have a higher rate, but if someone comes to me and says, I can't afford this, I'll negotiate with you. But, you know, it's been really, really interesting. I find the more I charge, the harder people work and the more committed they are to it, you know? So you just got to check with your own guidance about that. Natalie, is there anything that you'd like to say before we turn this over to Carol and Zena?
No, I'm still.
I know. I
Woo!
channeling head. Exactly. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for being here with us today. If we can be of service, please reach out. I put up the link for the class tomorrow if any of you are interested. And Carol, I'm going to turn this over to you and Zena. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, love. Thank you so much to both of you. Again, the gift of time and talent is priceless. So thank you very much for what you are doing here today. So I just want to let you know, Lynn, that Laurent is probably going to follow up with you. He's got some things that came up and he is curious. So he will probably follow up with you. I will go ahead and bring Zena in. He is the reason why we are all together today. So let's bring him in and see what he has to say. My name is Zena. My name is Zena Allen indeed. And what a pleasure. Humans, this is a time unprecedented. You hear this over and over and over again, and we want to underline it with several lines underneath that this is a time of choice. You are indeed, as this beautiful being said earlier, in the density of choice and conflict. And the choice is yours. Please let us remind you, the choice is yours. How you flow or not in this time is completely up to you. Remember, we have talked about power, and power is what you are. It is not something that can be given away or taken away. Remember, you are power, and free will is that engine of that power. So exercise your free will to choose in alignment with that which you are and not with that which you believe you are. We are calling you here to connect to your truth. We are calling you here to wake up. Breathe that in. It is time, dear beings. It is time. My name is Zena. My name is Zena Allen indeed. I am a blue avian being, which would make me what you call an extraterrestrial. I am the general of the peace army of the blue avians, and my mission is clear. My mission is peace. My mission is aiding you in your ascension. And I speak with you today because there has been much unrest on your planet lately. Although there has been unrest for many, many, many centuries on your planet, right now there are many ingredients that have come together in this spot of chaos. And it is in your power to choose to become a part of that energy matrix that is bringing your society to its knees, or to rise above it and continue to shine the light on it. The choice is yours. And we will tell you, if you are here today, if you are attracted, let us say, to channeled teachings, if you feel congruency with the Blue Avian message, if you feel supported by material that is high frequency and loving, you are here to make a difference. You are here to act. And that action can be as varied as the number of beings that are incarnate on this plane at this time. But see, we are underlining once again the word action. You are not here to coast, dear beings, because that path of indifference is a path that is sweet to the darkness, very sweet. It calls you, it manipulates you, and it brings you to that apathy and that lack of compassion that is plaguing the world that you live in right now. You are here to act, and that action, again, may take so many forms that the creator, the chooser, is you. Yes, it is powerful indeed. Wake up to that reality. Wake up to the action that you are being called for in this incarnation at this time. That action may very well be just truth seeking. That action may very well be not visible, quote unquote, to society, but then again, it might be. You might be called to step it up, step outside, and be congruent with what you believe and show what you are really made of and what you really are here for. This is not a time to coast, dear loves. This is a time to shine. And how do you do that? You do that by remaining cheerful, by remaining happy, by remaining joyful. Despite of all that is around you. And we must remember that the media is there to polarize you. The media is there to manipulate you, because this spiritual war, this spiritual battle, and we are careful when we use these words, because you warring beings have this idea that war and battle must come with blood and must come with weapons, and that is not what we speak of here. We speak of a battle of conflict. We speak of a battle of clashing of spiritual beliefs. And that battle is to be right now fought in the minds of the beings that are here and that are part of this realm at this time. That is where it's taking place. It's in the minds. So it is ideas that are enslaving you, using your own free will. You must rise above those ideas. You must deliver with passion, with compassion, with purpose, and with joy that which is your truth. Stay congruent with it. Stay joyful. Because from that place of joy, you are going to start counteracting the darkness that is falling on this planet that feeds on your fear. Yes? So when you see what is happening out there, when you believe that you have nothing to do with it, and when you start going down the spiral of despair, we remind you, you are feeding that matrix. But if you stand tall, if you stand beautiful as you are, reminding yourself every day that you are here with purpose, that you are beautiful, that you are God mind, you are limitless. You are powerful, and you got this. You can do it. We're here to cheer you on. We're here to remind you, and we're here to support you. Be joyful. Generate the joy from within. Do not expect this world to caress you. Do not expect this world to make you happy, because you're going to be utterly disappointed. You are here to make the world happy. You are here to make the world better. And you are here to master this illusion. And wisdom, dear beings, is the mastery of information through experience. Oh, how beautiful indeed. We rejoice. We rejoice. You understand this. We feel it. You are connected. You know this. You are living it. Bring it on, dear beings. Bring it on. Turn on that light and continue to shine it bright. The darkness does not have a chance when you are bright. We love you. We will speak again at another time. Okay,
Gorgeous.
that's what you have to say.
Gorgeous.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. What a beautiful day to be together. I appreciate you. We have a channeling practice coming up on June 20th. We have one volunteer, one brave soul is going to step up and channel. If there are any other brave souls that would like to take the opportunity, I like to keep it at 2, maybe 3. But if there's anybody else that would like to participate, please contact me. Right now, there is no time set up because it depends on where in the world the channelers are. But please do contact me because I would like to set that up for a couple of weeks from today. Thank you, Lynn. My heart to yours. Thank you, Natalie. My heart to yours. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Natalie. And thank you to everybody who participated. Blessings.
Thanks, everybody. Love you.